Hey, what is up guys? I'm KBHD here, and this is video number 2 of Apollo, the Tesla Model S P100D. And this video is going to be shot entirely on a different smartphone camera than the first one. This is the Google Pixel XL camera. So this is going to be your first look at the 4K video, the electronic but not optical image stabilization that people have been talking about so much, the super fast laser autofocus. All that stuff is going to be tested and shown, dynamic range, etc. in this video. So Model S is a completely electric car, and that brings obviously a lot of interesting traits into the mix, and that brings up a lot of questions in 2016. So this video is basically the basics, the options, and the rudimentary features for those who aren't familiar. So Tesla Motors, the company, actually makes 2 other vehicles. The Model X is another one, the crossover you might have seen, the one with the doors. And they used to make one called the Roadster, but the one that's coming later is called the Model 3. That'll be the less expensive, slightly smaller sedan, starting at around $35,000, but that's a completely separate video. And yes, of course, the acronym. So Model S being electric means, like I said, remember the first video? There is no engine at all. So there is a motor between the front 2 wheels and another motor, they're both about the size of a watermelon, between the back 2 wheels. And then there's a huge battery along the bottom sides of this car. So you can see right in the front, there used to be a bigger front here when these cars didn't have a front motor. There would be more space to put things in the front trunk, but yeah, there's no engine in this car at all. So the main differentiating factor between Tesla Model S's is the different battery sizes and then the different motors. The battery sizes have different amounts of range, the motors have different amounts of performance. So you can get a battery size between 60 kilowatt hours, 75, 90, or 100. And then the P will mean larger performance motors. No P means smaller regular size motors. And then the D means dual motors. Again, a motor in the front and in the back, while no D means just a single motor in the rear. And the little underline you see here basically means little extra performance, or ludicrous mode. That's probably its own separate video, but as you can see, P100D essentially represents the peak of what Tesla's accomplished in terms of engineering here in 2016. Largest battery, highest performance. I fully expect like a P120D next year though. Like that's gotta be inevitable just based on the way technology works. It's a tech product. So just hardware wise, I guess the same way I talk about smartphones, it's a pretty striking car. Like it's unique in some ways, but familiar in others. Like some people will say it has some Jaguar influence. I kind of agree with that. Some other people have seen Aston Martin or Maserati, I think. So you'll see a couple of things in high-tech electric cars that regular gas cars don't have. Number one, see the front of this car right here where you normally have like a big opening for a grill? You don't need that in an electric car. Gas cars with engines require a big air intake to cool the engine with a radiator in the front, so you have all this cool air going through. Well, since you don't have an engine, you don't have a huge radiator, so all you do really need to cool is the motors and the battery on the bottom. So they just cover up the front, and you might not like the way it looks, but that's for efficiency. That's way more aerodynamic. And that's kind of a trend with this car, is aerodynamics and efficiency, driving dynamics are all to just maximize your range. So if you remember the handles from the first video that pop in and out, they stay inside the car while you're driving for better aerodynamics. All of this stuff combined and the shape means this car has the lowest coefficient of drag of any production car, so that's pretty awesome. All right, so now basically what I'm gonna do is take you through all of the options available on this car. You can already go to the Tesla website and see all the options available, but in this video, you'll actually be able to see all the options. All right, so first of all, like we mentioned, performance and range. You pick your battery size and you pick your performance level, obviously P100D being a high performance 100 kilowatt hour battery with dual motors, and a little bit of ludicrous mode going on. That means 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, which will probably be its own little video. Next is the paint color. This particular paint is called Midnight Silver Metallic. I call it gray. I was so split on red versus gray earlier, but I went with gray. I already had a red car, and I'm like not trying to get pulled over, so you know what I mean? I'm trying to fly under the radar. I think gray looks pretty dope. And then there are the wheels. You can go with either the 19-inch or 21-inch wheels. These are the 21s, and you can also go with either silver or black. I think black looks great. I don't know why more people don't get it. And also, how about those low-profile tires? Next up is the sunroof. So you can go with the hardtop version of this car if you want, but if you do get the sunroof version, then you do get controls inside the car for opening and closing it via the touchscreen. Again, the software, that whole UI is going to be its own separate video, but how sweet is that? Now the interior trim, this will probably get its own entire separate video because there's so much polarizing stuff about it. Obviously having a huge 17-inch touchscreen and all sorts of electronic controls, but the main idea here is, yeah, black leather, white leather, or tan leather. Shout out to those who are brave enough to go with white leather. Black or white headliner, and then you can go with the carbon fiber trim up at the front, or wood. I think carbon fiber looks a little more modern. On the back, you can choose to have this carbon fiber spoiler or not. It's a baby spoiler, but obviously it does its job of pressing air down and keeping this car grounded and stable at higher speeds. And then another option is the Tesla red brake calipers you see right there, which I think looks sweet. It's that little bit of accent of red on a non-red car, and they're also included with any performance version. All right, Autopilot hardware. This is a popular topic among Tesla owners and enthusiasts. The car already has a whole bunch of sensors, radar and LiDAR sensors all the way around the sides, back and front of the car for safety and parking. But there's also a camera up front here at the top of the car that will read things like street signs and the lines on the road in front of you. That is what's used for Autopilot. That's an option that you can choose to get or not to get. And word on the street is you will have to replace this harness for the Autopilot 2.0 hardware that'll let it legitimately drive itself from point A to point B. All right, so this next one's really fun. Ready? Smart air suspension. So take general note of the ride height of the car right now. Yeah, you can change that automatically or manually whenever you want. And what's really cool is, you normally ride around on standard. It automatically lowers the car when you're going over a certain speed. But if I choose to go ahead and manually turn it to high, it will remember the locations where I do that. And next time I'm in those GPS locations, it'll actually turn the ride height of the car up again. So like my driveway, for example, I have to turn it up to high every single time because it's a fairly high driveway. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that up, and now I'm gonna get out the car, and you can see it's gonna go ahead and boost the ride height a little bit and give me a little more clearance on things like curbs and speed bumps. So the fact that it can do that automatically based on GPS location is sweet. So those are the options available on the Tesla Model S. Hopefully they give you a good idea. Obviously, a lot of these questions that I'm answering in these videos, this video series is going to be based on things that people ask me and that people are most curious about. But obviously continue to leave your comments and let me know what you guys want to see. I plan a bunch of videos on stuff like the software, the interior, the upgradability of this essentially tech product. But yeah, this was your test of the Pixel XL camera and a little look around the inside out of the options and features available on this car. That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.